First of all, thank you for being here. My name is Simone Arena. I'm a distinguished engineer in Cisco Wireless.
And I'm Vivek Menon, Senior Director of Product Management, Cisco Spaces.
All right, so I'm sure throughout this week you've heard about Wi-Fi 7, right? The technology, the brand new access point we just launched. Now, what we want to do is take it a little step further. What do you need to create and design your network with Wi-Fi 7 in order to enable use cases, interesting use cases with Cisco Spaces, all integrated?
Well, let's start with something fun. Let's roll the video, Simone.
Let's roll the video. All right, so you get a feeling. It's all about the integration, what we can enable when we integrate on the full stack. But before we get there, I want to a little bit talk about Wi-Fi 7 and the design aspect.
Hold on. Now, I know that we've got pretty much a full house, and you want to get into the technical details, but it's the last day of Cisco Live. It's almost the last hour. So before you go into the details, let's start with something simple.
Okay.
Can you talk to us about the evolution of Wi-Fi? Go back a little bit in the history.
All right. By chance, I have a slide to talk about this. So, Vivek, what is amazing to me is the pace of innovation in Wi-Fi. Look at this slide. In this century, every 3 or 4 years, there is a new standard. So we come up with new technology that address problems that we couldn't solve before, and we bring new technology. Now, Wi-Fi 7 is not different. Wi-Fi 7 is about enhanced throughput, better security, lower latency. So we can enable applications like time-sensitive networking or the XVR and all those applications. But what are we hearing from customers? So customers are telling us, Cisco, Wi-Fi is the way to access my networks and application. So I want to get data, and I want to be able to manage this network in a simple way. But also, they want to transform their workspace, right? What do you hear?
Customers are always telling us that they want to drive better efficiencies in their buildings. When I talk about efficiency, I'm talking about being able to track and manage assets, being able to measure occupancy in the buildings, building floor, room level, but also experiences. Great example of experiences is indoor navigation, which as you know, is a popular use case that we're supporting today. So it's all about experiences and efficiencies in buildings.
Perfect. So in order to enable these use cases, what do you need? You need the next-gen architecture network that you will install now, will last for other 10 years, and will allow you to build all these interesting use cases. Of course, at the heart of it, there is the new Wi-Fi 7 access point. I will not bother you with all the spec. This is the best Wi-Fi access point in the industry. Now, we also simplified because we went from 16 product ID to 1. So you buy one SKU, and it doesn't matter if you want to manage it on-prem or cloud. You don't have to make that decision at purchase. You buy one single SKU, and you have one single license for cloud managed or on-prem. But also, we built this access point with sustainability in mind, and we placed a lot of sensors in it so that we can directly integrate and send data to Spaces. Now, what are the considerations, the design consideration that you need to take into account in order to build a Wi-Fi 7 network? Of course, I only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to cover the most important things. First of all, what are the 3 effects that you need to have in order to adopt Wi-Fi 7? Let's talk then about RF design, WLAN design, NAP deployment. So first of all, this is true for any technology, especially in Wi-Fi. What do you need? You need the regulatory part, and that we are done. We have done the first certification of Wi-Fi 7. Then you need the infrastructure. And by that, I don't know, that only mean APs. Also, we'll see the implication on the wired infrastructure. Number 3, you need clients. If you don't have clients, you will not basically get the benefit of Wi-Fi 7. Now, if you think about it, the clients are coming. I started monitoring in June, and you see that the number of certified devices have gone from 14 to 34, so almost tripled in 6 months, right? So it's coming. Now, this is the list of all the certified clients.
Hold on. Why is that in red? Some of these, I thought Wi-Fi 7 access point supports 6 gigahertz?
Yeah, so maybe you don't see this. What this slide shows is that there are clients that do not support 6 gigahertz. Because guess what? And this is important for you to take home. Wi-Fi 7 doesn't automatically mean 6 gigahertz. Wi-Fi 6E did. Wi-Fi 7, there are vendors out there that are selling just on 2.4 and 5. But we believe that 6 gigahertz is the game changer. So make sure when you evaluate a vendor that you consider that has 6 gigahertz enabled. Why is 6 gigahertz a game changer? This is a spectrum analysis of a customer of mine. 2.4 and 5 are congested. So that means Wi-Fi that has bad experience, bad roaming, not being able to use larger channels. With 6 gigahertz, right, even if in Europe we don't get the full 1200 megahertz, we still have 40 megahertz channels or 680 megahertz channels that are greenfield, no interferences, no DFS to deal with. That's why we want to design for 6 gigahertz. And when you design for 6 gigahertz, keep in mind that we have built the access points so that the cell, the footprint of the access point, are very similar between 5 and 6. So if you have a good coverage at 5 gigahertz, you can just one-to-one replace with Wi-Fi 7 APs. Now, we have made it also easier to do because we support the same mounting bracket, so you can just slide out the old one, slide in the new one, and you're done, right? So, of course, when you have to consider 6 gigahertz, higher frequency, less penetration. So you have to increase a little bit the power, right? So it's important that you have done a 5 gigahertz coverage for capacity, right? At that point, you don't have to do it this manually. If you have AI RRM, so RRM enhanced by tethering to the cloud, we can take care of this and make sure that your 6 gigahertz penetrates and has the same cell footprint of your 5 gigahertz network. Now, you may ask, but what about very challenging RF environment? I have warehouses or auditoriums with high-density deployments, places like this. How do I cover this? I need external directional antennas. Well, guess what? If you look at the cameras here, you see two of these access points, right? These access points are the 9176D1. These have an integrated directional antenna. Why is this important? Because for the regulatory domain, we cannot use external antennas. So this is the way to have a directional antenna fully integrated on the AP, and at the same time, save the cost and money to mount external antennas. So this is a great advantage. I talked about the implication on the wire network, right? So you have to take into consideration that these APs require more power.
I thought BT was good enough.
Okay, so this is important. 802.3BT, which is the PoE standard power, doesn't mean that you will get more than 30 watt. So be careful when you purchase that switch, because we need more than 30 watt for each port that you connect to an access point. So class 4 and beyond. So make sure you read the spec of that switch. Also, the connection from the EP to the switch, besides the power, M-gig, right? With now this access point, you can go beyond 1 gig of throughput, so you don't want this to be the bottleneck. So M-gig is the recommended. We can support M-gig up to 5E cables. If you have Cat5, you will not be able to do M-gig, but still gig. Last thing, Wi-Fi 7 has new requirements for security, which is great, but it will create some transition time for the clients to adopt, right? We need WPA3 and we need management frame protection. Now, this was true also on Wi-Fi 6E. Wi-Fi 7 brought additional AKMs, so additional key managements and additional ciphers, right? And the new features like MLO, multi-link operation, so kind of doing an ether channel with radios, those are only supported with the new security. So that is important. Then the next question is, how do I design my SSIDs? You have 3 options. First option, you go, how I like to call it, all in. So you change your existing SSID to support WPA3. But you have to know what clients you have, because older clients may not connect because they don't support WPA3. The other thing, which is the most flexible, you add an SSID. So you don't touch what you have, you add an SSID, for example, just with WPA3 at the end. But not everybody can afford this, right? If you are a university, EduRoam, you cannot spawn another SSID. So in that case, the recommended way would be transition mode. So one SSID that advertised in 2.4 and 5 holds both AKMs, WPA2 and WPA3, and on 5 gigahertz only the new WPA3 security. This is the recommended way, especially if you can test your clients. That would be always the recommendation. Okay, so we have built this access point as the most sophisticated sensor in the industry. Not only for Wi-Fi radios, we have a UWB radio, a BLE radio, a GPS, all of this, so that we can capture a lot of data to enable some very interesting use cases.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Professor Simone. That was awesome, I'm sure. That was a lot of points for people to. So, like Simone said, these access points are not just the most intelligent and secure, they're also going to be the most powerful sensor that you ever put on your roof. And they come fully integrated with Cisco Spaces, and hence, it's now fully possible for our IT customers to use their existing network to manage and deploy OT and line of business use cases. And if you can go back, this slide, it's good. It's only Cisco who can do this because we have the advantage of having a hardware foundation that is unmatched in the industry. We also have a software platform today that, like Simone mentioned, even at a license level and at a product integration level, is fully natively integrated with these access points. So essentially, with Wi-Fi 7 access points, you're getting AI maps, you're getting location services, you're getting multi-sensor connect, occupancy, Wi-Fi onboarding, and all the APIs to drive some really cool outcomes in your buildings, from energy savings to asset tracking to navigation, which is all now possible for IT teams to support on top of their network. Now let's just spend a minute to understand how it all comes together. Next slide. So when you turn on Cisco Spaces on your Wi-Fi 7 access points, and by the way, did I mention it's fully native? On the Meraki dashboard, Simone, I don't know if you heard the news, we are natively integrated. It's a single click on the NetLab, and boom.
Cloud
Meraki,
to cloud.
Cloud
right?
to cloud, absolutely. So essentially, when you make that linkage, what's happening is all your devices that you bought from Cisco, your access points, your collaboration devices, Cisco switches, Meraki cameras, Meraki things, all of them start becoming a sensor for measuring occupancy, for measuring air quality, for measuring temperature. All of these devices come with pre-built sensors. They activate when you turn on Cisco Spaces. Not only that, next slide, we also support third-party sensors. We have a device marketplace with pre-tested and pre-integrated asset tags, environmental monitors, panic buttons, and occupancy sensors. So in a case where you have to deploy third-party sensors, we also support that, and all of it is managed on top of your network, so there's no need for sensor gateways or multiple shadow networks and stuff like that.
And what happens with all this data?
So let's talk about what happens about the data. It all comes to Cisco Spaces, where we are providing you with an operating system. It's a cloud platform where you get all these foundational capabilities. That is a one-time setup. Once you upload your AutoCAD files on Cisco Spaces, you are creating AI maps out of the box. These maps are available to you on Cisco Spaces, but also as an API or SDK to integrate with any third-party systems. We also give you location data, so you can now place a person or a device on the map. We also support occupancy, Wi-Fi onboarding, and a ton of other use cases. So all of this data comes to Cisco Spaces. It creates a foundational technology and layer for you to now start driving some business outcomes. So let's talk about some of these outcomes, Simone, and I know you have a few favorite ones. Do you want to pick one?
Actually, I don't know about you guys, but after being 3 or 4 days here, I lost track of time. But I think indoor navigation in this place, having to go from one session to the other, is my favorite one.
Absolutely. I love indoor navigation too. One of the top use cases that customers have been telling me in meetings is our sustainability use case of smart rooms. So that's also seeing a lot of interest among customers. I know sustainability is top of mind for all of you.
Yes.
You have some cool applications built to do that. So you have to test navigation to believe it. It's actually available on your badge. If you turn your badge around, there's a QR code. But if you don't want to do that, we have the QR code right here. You have to just scan it, and you will be actually navigating within our AI. We have actually digitized this 1 million square feet of event space with Cisco Wireless and Cisco Spaces. You don't need any other technology. You scan the QR code, and you can start navigating.
But you don't want them to leave now, right?
No, we don't. Don't scan and go. We still have a lot to cover. So, just keep it ready. Applet pops up. You don't need to download a mobile app. It all works seamlessly.
All right. So, but how do I know how to, if I want to start from scratch, I know I want to go Wi-Fi 7, I know I want to enable these use cases.
Absolutely.
How can you drive me through what I need to do?
Simone, I've been driving Cisco Spaces for 6 years now, and what you're talking about is the #1 challenge. Because typically, our IT customers set up the network, and a couple of years later, come to Cisco Spaces team to start doing some initiatives and projects. But a lot of times, your network is not set up for those use cases. There are many considerations, as you mentioned before, and those considerations increase as you start looking at smart spaces use cases. The density of access points that you deploy on the roof, where you put them, the AP to AP distance.
Exactly.
Have you seen those issues from our customers before?
Absolutely. I mean, how do I place them? Is my network ready for location. Now we have a UWB radio.
Absolutely.
Do I have to place them closer? Is that okay to place it the same as for RF coverage?
Absolutely.
For Wi-Fi coverage? So all these questions.
And for the first time ever, we are super, super excited to announce the launch of a Smart Spaces Studio. This is a web application where all of you will be able to go to design the next generation of Cisco network deployments, where we will tell you, based on your requirement, what access point models and what density do you need to deploy where in your buildings.
Can we show them? Or?
Absolutely. Julian runs our UI UX for Cisco Spaces. I want to invite you. Can we do a quick demo for everyone here to show what the future looks like? So Simone, I don't know if you've seen this before, but it's pretty simple.
No, I haven't. It's brand new, right?
So this application is going to the Cisco Spaces website. We have not launched it yet. You guys are the first ones to see it. It's going to go live soon. So go to spaces.cisco.com, and once it goes live, click on Build Your Smart Space. Once you click on it, you'll have multiple options, of course, because you'll need to know what licenses you need, what is the pricing, etc. But it all starts with a simple builder which lets you choose use cases.
Yeah,
now, this is where it all starts, because if you have to do asset tracking, the next question is, do you need high precision asset tracking with UWB, or is normal asset tracking with BLE good enough? What level of indoor navigation do you need? Where all do you need to do these use cases? And if you kind of go down the list, there are tons of use cases, Simone. Folks want to measure occupancy. They want to do environmental monitoring. If you're a hospital, you want to do baby monitoring. You want to do, if you are a retailer, you want to do visitor segmentation. So there's a ton of considerations that all of you might have. Simply select the use cases and press the next button. We will also ask you to enter the size of your space. So if you understand what the square meter size of the building is, we will also have a bunch of pre-filled options for you if you just want to get a rough estimate. As soon as you enter the building size, what we do for you, and this is the most interesting part, and I'm sure Professor Simone will agree with me, tell us roughly what your building construction type is. Is it an open layout? Does it have minimum walls? Is it moderate walls with partition, or is it fully enclosed?
That's critical.
Can you tell us why this is important, Simone?
Well, of course. I mean, it depends on how, if you have walls, especially in Europe, the propagation of the signal will be different compared to an open space. So the positioning of the access point will change. So I'm sure we are taking some RF model, and based on that RF model, we will suggest. That doesn't mean that no site survey anymore, is not that the message, but this helps you building and start designing with the right numbers.
You're finally designing the network for smart spaces, because you are basically future-proofing your buildings. Once you put those access points on the roof,
they will be there for 10 years.
You're going to be putting it for 10 years, and you'll have, if you're not wanting to do navigation or asset tracking today, you may have to do it in 5 years. True. You won't be able to rip apart and add more access points at that point.
Absolutely.
So you select the building type, and then press next. And what we will do you is generate a smart space profile. That profile will tell you what kind of packages you need. If you qualify for some promo offers, in fact, we've just launched a very interesting promo offer with some of these advanced use cases. But essentially, it gives you recommendations, Simone. It tells you what access points you need, what is the coverage per square meter, and what is the inter-AP distance. This is only the beginning. This is only the basic that you need to figure out how many access points and which models that you want to place buying.
Because I know if I present this to our customer, to my customer, they're going to be excited, but the next question is, they're going to ask me, can I integrate my RF tool design, my Ekahau, can I do that?
That's a good question, and you've put me on spot, but that is exactly where we are moving. The next phase of this will have a direct integration with a partner of your choice to actually implement the network design.
Perfect.
Yep. We also are including collaboration devices and other sensors, because you will also want to know what collaboration device you need. A lot of these use cases that are advanced, like room occupancy, will also need you to invest in the latest and greatest hardware. So it's a complete system where you get recommendation on what access points, what collaboration devices, what partner sensor that you might need that Cisco doesn't support. And we also will provide you with an RF guide with a partner of your choice.
Vivek, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is a great story. This is really how we go beyond the Wi-Fi standard to really give you additional value, bringing these use cases. And it's not about anymore building the network and then go to this partner for this other partner for that use cases. It's all integrated with Cisco Spaces.
What you're saying is the most important thing, because until today, this whole industry works like professional services, where Cisco or any of the third-party companies is not able to specifically provide the guidance on how to deploy these use cases. When we talk to our customers, there are business teams that are pulling shadow networks, putting third-party gateways that are cellular. And finally, after a nice little pilot project with a custom mapping provider, they come to IT and say, hey, can you support this? But it's not secure, IT cannot manage it, they cannot scale it. With this, we hope to solve it. We're giving IT teams the tools to feel confident and to make the right investment while they refresh their network, to set up the right infrastructure, so that in the next 5 to 10 years, you can support some of these really advanced use cases.
Perfect. All right, I think we're done.
It's time for them to start navigating. Now I think they can start doing it.
You can go and navigate. I think the important message, guys, is let's start to innovate with Cisco, Wi-Fi 7, and Spaces together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.